gentlemen, welcome to episode 47 of the podcast devoted to the classic and sometimes not-so-classic genre cinema of yesteryear. This is Bride of Monster Kid Radio. My name is Derek M. Cook, your writer, host, and producer of the show. Welcome to the song Echoes of Halloween. It's from the band The Riptide Rats. They're a surf band based out of Kungsbacka, Sweden, and they gave us permission. In fact, they even reached out to us and said, hey, this song would be perfect for an episode of Bride of Monster Kid Radio, and I could not agree more. Check them out at theriptiderats.bandcamp.com or look them up on the internet. They're all over the place. They even have a YouTube channel. However you find them, let them know you heard about them here on Bride of Monster Kid Radio. And of course, you're going to hear this song in its entirety at the end of this episode. But before we get to the end, we've got all the cool stuff that's going to be happening in the middle. And why don't we start all that cool stuff with a little bit of feedback. We got an email from our friend Marlo. Marlo writes in saying, welcome back, Derek. Thank you. Appreciate it. You know, kind of referencing us taking a short break between episodes 44 and 45. So really appreciate that. Or was it 45 and 46? Whatever it was. Happy to be back. Marlo continues. I loved the episode with Gretchen. Two monster kids talking about a very fun monster movie. That was last week's episode where we talked about the Wolfman. Marlo continues, with my earliest memory of a Universal monster movie is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein on a Saturday afternoon on TV. I was hooked. My favorite Universal monster film is still Creature from the Black Lagoon, though The Wolfman has held up very well over time and is a beloved classic for a good reason. Thank you and Gretchen for a lively discussion. You know what? That's actually how I first saw Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein as well. It was on an afternoon on television. I can tell you exactly where I was. I was living in Great Falls, Montana at the time. My dad was Air Force, so we were living on the Air Force Base, on Malmstrom Air Force Base in Great Falls. I was across the street at my best friend's at the time, house. His name was Bobby Cisneros. And Bobby and I would watch TV together over there. We watched a lot of classic Star Trek. But we also ended up watching Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein with his dad. And in retrospect, I have to think that his dad was so patient because up until this point, I'd never seen any of the Universal Monster movies, but I knew about them because of the Crestwood House books that I had read in the children's section of the school library over and over and over again. Those books had such a huge impact on me, and I memorized them. I knew who Boris Karloff was. I knew who Bela Lugosi was. I knew what happened in Frankenstein and Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman and House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, all of those movies. So while we're watching Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which does adhere to the continuity of the previous films, kind of, little Derek was just running his mouth the entire time, talking about all the things that happened in all the previous films while we're watching Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and I'm sure that I thought it was fascinating. I don't remember what Bobby's response was, but I do remember Mr. Cisneros' incredible patience putting up with this goofy kid who came over from across the street to watch monster movies at their house. It had such an impact on me and meant so much. That just kind of capping off my introduction to all of these movies because I had read about them in the Crestwood House books. That's how I got into them as well. So that's super cool, Marlo. Thank you for sharing that. Marlo does sign off with, the Blue Mallard song was awesome. Loved it. I have to look at more of their music. Thanks for that find. All my best to Beth, and thanks to Mark and Kenny. They do great work for the podcast. Regards, Marlo. I will pass this on to Beth. In fact, she's in the other room. She might even hear me right now, but I'll make sure she gets the message. And Mark and Kenny make the show so much better. Love when they're involved. And of course, we got Mark Matzke's Beta Capsule review coming up later in this episode, so stay tuned for that. The Blue Mallards was a surf band that I played on last week's episode, and as much as I love talking about monster movies, one of the things that I love that's come out of doing Monster Kid Radio and Bride of Monster Kid Radio is finding other surf bands and surf music that I can share with everybody. And I love that the Riptide Rats actually reached out to us and was like, hey, check out this song, play it on your show. And I'm like, yes, sir, you don't have to tell me twice. That's awesome. So if any of you are involved in instrumental surf, I would love to play your music here on the show. I know I've had a few musicians on the show in the past, and I know some musicians out there are listening, so reach out to me, monsterkidradio@gmail.com, and we'll talk about getting your music played here on the show and shared with the audience of Bride of Monster Kid Radio. That's also the best email address if you wanted to reach out to us and be cool like Marlo. monsterkidradio@gmail.com is our email address. You can also call and leave us a voicemail. Haven't had a voicemail in a little while, but you can call and leave us a voicemail at 360-524-2484. That's all going to be on the website of monsterkidradio.net, and we'll talk about that and the show notes and everything at the end of the episode. Marlo, thank you for writing in. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to know that y'all are digging what we're doing here. And what are we doing here this week? Well, I already mentioned it. Mark Matzke's Beta Capsule review is coming up. He's having a grand time watching Ultraman Taro. This is a first-time watch for him. He is an Ultraman aficionado. He's watched a lot, but he has admitted, and I think he even put it in a segment maybe. If he hasn't, well, then I just kind of let the secret out. But this is a first-time watch for him, and he's having a grand time, and that's coming through in the recordings that he sends me, and I really appreciate that. So that's coming up. And then after that, we get another Mark, and we get Beth, and we're going to have a party because we're going to be talking about the movie Mad Monster Party here on the show. I am super stoked for this one. I talked about this, and I'll mention this later. I talked about Mad Monster Party once many, many, many moons ago, at least 13 years ago. I'd say probably at least 15 years ago, back when I was doing the Mail Order Zombie podcast. And longtime listeners of everything that I do might remember that I didn't give it the highest rating. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, considering that I gave the movie such a poor review, that episode of Mail Order Zombie isn't on the internet anywhere unless somebody archived it that I don't know about. But I did recently just come across of the list of movies that I talked about on Mail Order Zombie, and I can tell you that I gave it a rating of 2 headshots out of 5. Yeah, I'm not proud of that because I have since grown to really, really love this movie. And you're going to hear that love come through, I hope, in the conversation that I had with Mark, who also really loves the movie. Mark Holmes, that is. And this was a first-time watch for Beth. So I got to introduce her to a movie that I really, really love. And I think you're going to have fun with the conversation. We had fun with the conversation. I had fun going back and listening to it again to prepare it in the edit for this episode. So I hope you enjoy that as well. And hey, as I was putting the show together, this just in, even though I might have said otherwise, Kenny does have his segment this week. He is on the show because he's got a response to Gretchen and I talking about the Wolfman with his look at Famous Monsters of Filmland. So that'll be coming up later in this episode too. Woohoo! Well, we've been giving the Riptide Rats quite a workout here, so why don't we let them take a break as we get into the rest of the show right now.
A human being so horribly slaughtered in the dungeon of doom. Grisly sacrifices for a maniac's vengeance. Men without souls whose artificial blood keeps their cruel brains alive. See just how far maniacal mistreatment will go. It's a new, bizarre shocker from the master of the macabre, Edgar Allan Poe. Christopher Lee in his greatest horror role as Dracula. When the dead count's mangled body rises for its coffin, a new siege of the sinister starts.
I needed the blood of 13 women. I found 12. They struggled against death. It was that desire to live.
It's far out, fantastic and frightening. The creeping, crawling terror that haunts those marked for diabolical disaster. Here's the thrills of more than a dozen horror movies all rolled into one. Nobody will ever escape from the blood demon. We dare you to keep watching the screen through here.
flesh crawls, blood curdles. Dr. Fives rises again with his new diabolical devices of torture and murder. See the gruesome scorpion's embrace, the eagle's caress, the sausage machine. Dr. Fives rises again, starring Vincent Price and Robert Quarry. Rated PG, parental guidance suggested. Dr. Fives rises again.
Live from the Land of Light in Nebula M78, home of the mighty Ultra Heroes, it's Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review.
Ultraman Taro, Episode 7, Heaven and Hell, The Island Moves. Original air date April 7th, 1973. Crab monster Gonza is attacking ships in the South Seas. ZAT assists the Coast Guard with the investigation except for Kotaro, who's at home nursing a cold. Landing on an uncharted island, some of the ZAT members take advantage of the free time by fishing, swimming, and even taking naps. When they awake, they're shocked to discover that their location has changed, because the island isn't an island at all. They've been riding on Gonza's back, and they escape mere moments before the giant crab engages in battle with a monster octopus. While the kaiju are occupied, Kotaro is called upon to join in the mission, and he arrives in the supersonic Condor jet. Gonza, however, downs both aircraft with a melting spray, forcing the pilots to eject. With no time to deploy his parachute, Kotaro lands on the giant crab itself with seemingly no way to summon Ultraman Taro. Episode 7 is a charming standalone installment which hits many of the notes that have been established thus far in the series. There's Kotaro's home life with foster family, the Shiratoris. Plenty of comic relief as the ZAT crew goofs off on what they think is an island, and the bonus of monsters engaging in a downright grisly mid-episode deathmatch. Once again, the special effects work warrants mention, such as a miniature seaside village rendered with exceptional detail, although the same department's use of tiny people is not nearly as convincing. That's a minor quibble, however, as the episode's entertainment value, measured in the number of times you'll probably say, "No way," is pretty high. For Bride of Monster Kid Radio's Beta Capsule Review, this is Mark Matzke reporting.
The vault of horror is about to open. You will learn its terrifying secrets if you dare. Death lives in Tales from the Crypt from Cinerama Releasing. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Some material may be unsuitable for pre-teenagers.
Blood of the ever-living, the ever-evil. Blood from the mummy's tomb. From the dead past come powers too terrifying, too strange to be believed.
You know who I am? And you're afraid, aren't you?
Who is she, wearing the mummy's face? Is she one of us, enjoying our kind of life? Or is she the ever-living, the ever-evil? Blood from the mummy's tomb. Rated PG.
Hello there, Monster Kid Radio heads. This is Kenny with a look at Famous Monsters of Filmland. Last week, Derek and Gretchen discussed the 1941 Universal classic, The Wolfman. This film was given film book treatment in FM 51 from August of 1968. It was later reprinted in FM 96 from March of 1973. It was a 13-page synopsis with an amazing 23 photos. Let's take a look at how authors G. John Edwards and Bill Warren describe some of the film's highlights. He comes upon a fearsome scene. A frothing wolf with blood on its fangs, tearing at Jenny's fallen body. Larry seizes the beast, holding its growling head in one hand, while he beats it frantically with the silver-headed cane. As the animal's crimson-stained claws slash at him, Larry strangles the beast, pounding his cane into the carcass with heavy blows till the wolf is dead. Larry catches one of the gypsies by the arm. What's all the excitement? There's a werewolf in camp, the frightened gypsy replies. Stunned, Larry now feels there may be some truth to Maleva's words. He races away into the depths of the forest back to Castle Talbot. With a quick glance up at the moonless sky, he bursts inside and dashes to his room. His heart pounding, he flings himself into a chair and tears off his jacket. Feeling strange pains in his feet, he quickly removes his shoes and socks. More strange pains and unknown sensations sweep over his body, and he turns his gaze to the open window. The newly risen full moon shines in, bathing him with its brilliance. His eyes become glazed, and the mind of Larry Talbot vanishes. Coarse gray hair covers his feet and legs, and the bones of his feet alter their shape. His nails become claws. The wolfman rises, pacing from the room on its padded paws. A hunched figure creeps through the brush in the graveyard, crouching silently in the shadows behind a large oak. The wolfman raises its head above the gnarled branches and gazes at its newfound prey. Gwen fearfully enters the scene, meets Maleva. Have you seen Larry? Gwen asks, trembling. I've got to find him. Come with me, says Maleva, or he will find you. Gwen rushes away in horror. The wolfman growls, only a few yards away, scenting the aroma of warm flesh. Sir John catches a glimpse of Gwen as she dashes through the forest, and he pursues her, thinking she will lead him to Larry, or whatever Larry has become. The wolfman crouches in the shadows, awaiting Gwen. At last she runs past it, and it springs fiercely out from behind a tree, attacking her. The wolfman clutches its furred claws about her throat, choking her, and she screams, struggles, faints. Sir John arrives suddenly. The wolfman leaps at him ferociously. Sir John battles with all his strength. He beats the wolfman with his cane, and the two are hurled to the ground, wrestling furiously. Sir John, summoning his last ounce of strength, manages to rise and pound the cane at the fallen wolfman. Soon, all is still. That is all for this week's look at Famous Monsters of Filmland. We will have more next time. For MKR, this is Kenny saying adios.
Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. Horrors the screen has never before dared to depict. The terrifying horror of man killing vine with a human brain that creeps and kills. The terrifying horror of the dead, entombed for 200 years, that creeps its way back to terrorize the living. The terrifying horror of a dreaded man called Dr. Terror, who, with his deck of mystic cards, could foretell destiny. Dr. Terror's House of Horrors.
Ah, thank you. I've been standing there for centuries.
Yes, I suppose it seemed... Why, it's raining, but you're not wet.
No, I'm not, am I?
Where are you coming from?
I was was watching a wonderfully terrifying double feature movie. I was a teenage Frankenstein and Blood of Dracula.
Oh?
Professor Frankenstein created a teenage monster to bring havoc and terror to all who meet him, but he left a few parts out, particularly in the poor lad's face.
May we change the
And the
subject?
vampire in Blood of Dracula, quite unfriendly except when hungry, than any friend will do for a few ghastly moments.
Please,
Oh, here's where I must leave you.
But there's nothing here but an old cemetery.
Yes, I know. I want to meet some old friends here. After you see I was a teenage Frankenstein and Blood of Dracula, you might drop back here. We'll discuss the pictures to some length.
Yes, I'll do that.
This is Count Dracula, and I'm here to offer you a friendly warning. Derek and his guests often get excited, and occasionally this results in revealing key plot points of the movies they're discussing. You know how the children of the night, monster kids, can get sometimes. So consider yourself warned. And don't come begging to me to kill them for their transgressions afterward. I have more pressing issues to take care of, like that pesky Van Helsing.
Bride of Monster Kid Radio listeners, it is the most wonderful time of the year, as my lovely wife Beth sang on the show relatively recently. I don't think she's going to do it again this week because, again, copyright strike issues. But it is October. It's the time that we celebrate all things spook. Well, okay. We celebrate spooky all the time, but it's when the rest of the world celebrates all things spooky, and I am excited to get into a monster movie that I guess it's not scary, but it's monsters, so, I love it. It's fun. It's a party. It's Mad Monster Party, and I'm talking about it with my lovely wife, Beth, who I mentioned a second ago.
Hello.
And potentially the even just as lovely Mark Holmes.
Glad to be here.
Oh, Mark, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's a nice, cool fall day here in New Jersey, and I'm here with two friends.
Out here in Arizona, the weather kind of took a turn, and a lot of people here in Arizona are complaining, but not Beth and I.
It's hurricane time, baby. Bring that rain.
It's raining. It's gloomy. It's overcast. As soon as we get done recording, we're going to go out and run some errands. And I can't wait to do it with the windows down and just absorb that October. Oh,
Arizona's on my bucket list. I want to go to Tombstone, and there's a gigantic air museum right outside of Tucson that I want to go to.
Tucson's a lot of fun. We were just in Tucson, and you're going to hear this on an upcoming episode. We were just in Tucson for the Ray Harryhausen exhibit and the screening of Jason and the Argonauts. And there was like an hour-long Q&A afterwards with Vanessa Harryhausen. It was fantastic. Kenny got an interview with Vanessa and Connor Haney from the Harryhausen Foundation. So that's going to be playing in a future episode, probably first week in November. So that'll be coming up. But Tucson's amazing. Mark, if you make it out here, you got to meet up for at least a cup of coffee.
Oh, absolutely. I might wind up in your driveway and pitch tent. So
it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. And then, of course, we'll have to be back up at Monster Bash at some point. We're actually recording this at Monster Bash weekend. So while a lot of our friends are having a grand time in Pennsylvania, we're going to have a good time talking about Mad Monster Party, right?
Yeah, we have to work.
Is this work?
Yeah.
It's fun. So I don't know if it counts.
Find something you love to do and you'll never work another day in your life. Some old smart person said that.
Yeah, some old smart person. So do we get paid like minimum wage at least for this? Is that how that works?
A hearty handshake and a stiff pat on the back.
I'll take it. I can't remember if I've talked about Mad Monster Party on this show. I know I talked about it on Mail Order Zombie many, many moons ago because there are some zombies in it. And at the time I thought, I'm going to be a completist. I'm going to do every movie that's got a zombie in it. But I can't remember if I talked about it on Monster Kid Radio proper. And if I have, it's been so long that I've forgotten. So let's revisit it.
Hey, there we go.
Sounds like a plan.
Works for me. Mark, what's your history with the movie? Are you a huge fan of the movie? Do you remember the first time you saw it?
To say I'm a huge fan of the movie is an understatement. When I was a boy, I used to watch baseball on TV. And in the summertime, every now and then the game would get rained out.
Okay.
So the local station had to put on what they called rain out theater. It was always a last minute decision to call the game. So they would just grab whatever movie was handy. So in the middle of summer, I watched It's a Wonderful Life, one rain out theater. First time I ever saw that movie. And then the next time they had rain out theater, they put on Mad Monster Party. I must have been a preteen by then. And I loved it. And back then you were at the will of the scheduler for TV, whether you were going to see the movie ever again at a convenient time or something like that. So in the future, when home media came out, I made sure to secure a copy of Mad Monster Party. And I have it on DVD, and I'm looking to upgrade. I hear the Blu-ray is stellar, so I'm looking to upgrade to the Blu-ray.
I think I've got it both ways myself, both DVD and Blu-ray. I picked it up on DVD when
I went to grab the DVD to rewatch it, just to make it fresh in my mind. And I remember that I loaned it to my daughter so she could show it to her family. So I caught it streaming, but we're okay. We're good to go. I could have done this without rewatching the movie recently.
It's been a very long time since I'd seen it. Like I said, I covered it on Mail Order Zombie, and I remember that. And I'm sure I've seen it again since, but it's been a long time. And there were a few moments in it that I had forgotten. So it was kind of nice to have that rediscovery moment. But Beth, I got to ask you, this was a first time watch for you. What were your thoughts?
It was really fun to watch. And in terms of monsters and zombies and all of those things, but also because I am a huge fan of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and that movie. And so it was interesting to see. I think there were definitely maybe a few of the same performers doing things there in terms of, or the same artists in the terms of how they made the characters move, because certain characters definitely doubled characters in Rudolph.
Right. Mr. Cronkite stands out.
Mr. Cronkite stands out. Even our hero, he very much reminds me of my favorite little elf. There are a lot of things that are the same, but then there are things that are completely different, like the wonderful Phyllis Diller, who just...
Well, just to catch everybody up, in case you're not familiar with the movie.
Yep.
Mad Monster Party is in the exact same vein, made by the same production team that did the classic Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Santa Claus is Coming to Town animated movies that we watch every year at Christmas time. The Rankin Bass partnership.
It definitely is obvious once you start watching. It's like, oh yeah, this is like the Rudolph stuff, which, we all grew up watching that stuff, right? And I mean, I even watched Rudolph's Shiny New Year. I watched all of it.
It's such an interesting celebration of nepotism that really, is an interesting concept to look at in this day and age. That I think in the 50s, the idea of handing down your business, handing down all you'd accomplished your empire to your sons or your nephew, whether they were ready to do that or not, seemed as perfectly okay. And obviously what you did, for hundreds of years, families handed down their businesses. Whereas now, today, we're like, really? That guy? You're going to give it to that guy? Are you kidding me? He's going to bankrupt the company. So it's interesting, their take on it's perfectly fine to hand your monstrous domain down to your nephew who has nothing to do with it. I think in this day and age, the movie would play a little different.
There are a few things in here that are, and we talk about this on the show quite a bit. And I hate to harp on, the downside to some of these things, but of its time, the attitude toward women, all of that. There are some things in here, but it doesn't really make it any less fun for me to watch. Although Felix would have been a terrible, terrible.
Yeah. No.
A terrible, terrible what? Come on, finish the sentence.
Just a terrible boss.
I don't know. I want to disagree with you on that.
Okay.
He's starting from scratch. There is no company to take over.
Well,
and it was not his fault that there is no company to take over either.
Good point. At this point, yeah, by the time the movie ends, and obviously...
By the time the movie ends, sure. I'm talking about earlier, if he had...
And if you remember, he was going to turn it down.
Yeah.
I know, he's a good person.
Okay, just to catch everybody up, because we dove right in. Baron Boris von Frankenstein, his character is clearly based on Boris Karloff. They got the actor Boris Karloff to voice the character, and he is the head of the Organization of Monsters.
And it kind of looks like him.
And he does look like, and so does the monster. He has an actual Frankenstein's monster on the slab that is his first creation. And he is now just created at the very opening seconds of the movie, he has created the secret to ultimate destruction. He earlier created or discovered the secret to life and brought his monster to life. And now he can destroy anything he wants to. And he figures, that's it. I'm done. I'm retiring. And I'm going to hand it off to my long-lost nephew, Felix Flanken, who is in America. Oh, and Monster Isle, or the Isle of Evil, as they call it, is in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
How opposite a place on earth would you put the Isle of Evil in one of the most beautiful locations on the planet? Let's even go further back. The creative team behind this really wanted to have fun. You could tell that they all sat down together and they had fun. And you can go right to the original story was from Rankin Jr., Arthur Rankin Jr., the Rankin and Rankin Bass. And he hired two screenwriters, Len Koropakin and Harvey Kurtzman. And if you don't know who Harvey Kurtzman is, you never read EC Comics, which always had a little twist at the end of the story. And we'll put a pin in that and get back to that in a minute. And he also wrote for Mad Magazine, which when I was younger was the defining humor magazine in the country. Was Mad Magazine. You wanted every month to get the new issue of Mad Magazine. And Harvey Kurtzman was one of the creators and one of the founding artists and writers for Mad Magazine. So I think they just decided and said, we are going to have fun making this movie.
Definitely. I mean, one of my favorite parts, and I guess seeing this for the first time, maybe I have a different take on it, and I'd be interested if your take has changed over the years than seeing it as a child. They did the thing that so many great movies back in the day did, where they slipped in jokes for the adults.
Oh, I was going to bring that up. I'm glad you picked up on that, Beth. This is a multi-layer movie designed to entertain the entire family, from the youngest to the oldest. They've got some innuendo jokes in this movie that if you were not an adult, you would never understand, and you would have a thoroughly enjoyable time watching the movie anyway.
There's definitely at least one time where I turned to Derek like, was that an SEX joke? Or did I? He's like, no.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what Mad Magazine was, though, too, wasn't it? It was a comedy magazine. And I remember reading it in grade school myself and not understanding why the teachers always confiscated it, because I didn't think there was anything bad in it. It was just a silly comic book or comic magazine for kids. But when you go back and look at it now, like, oh, well, there's some stuff in there.
The cleverness, though, is that they seem to know how to write it in a way that it would click with the adults without clicking with the children.
Yeah.
Well, right in the beginning of the movie, when the Baron decides to retire, and he's going to invite all the monsters to have one big blowout and then announce his replacement. And we meet his secretary, Francesca, a very busty secretary, if we ever saw one, right out of the 1960s comics.
I thought she was gorgeous, but
she was amazing with her radiant red hair and her voice. The whole package came right together. And she's the first one to ask who Felix Flanken is.
Yeah.
And he says, oh, that's my long lost nephew from my younger sister who ran off with a traveling medicine show and wound up in America.
They were the white sheep of the family.
The white sheep of the family, exactly.
Love that, yeah.
And Francesca asks him why he's going to retire. And he says, oh, I do so much bad in the world and I get very little bad in return.
And I love that it's turned everything. I mean, yes, it looks like a kid's movie on the surface. And I guess pretty much it is. But the dialogue, I do so much bad, they were the white sheep of the family. All the things have been kind of twisted a little bit. And I love that about this because they keep it up for the entire movie. And it's just great.
I think the white sheep joke especially, and because it's early on, is saying white is black and black is white and everything is upside down here.
Yep.
Okay, let's go down the roster of monsters that get invited to this party.
Good.
Oh, it's all of them. It's great.
Okay, we have the monster. Now, Rankin Bass did not want to pay Universal a dime, so they used workarounds. So instead of calling it the Frankenstein monster, they just called him the monster.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the name Frankenstein should have been fine, they just covered the bases. And then we had the monster's mate, who we all know would be the bride of Frankenstein. However, she did not look anything like the Universal bride. She looked exactly like Phyllis Diller.
Yeah.
Now, for our younger listeners, Phyllis Diller was a groundbreaking, trailblazing female stand-up comedian who was absolutely hysterical.
Not afraid to make the dirty joke.
No, she was not. And she often talked about her husband, who in her stand-up routine she called Fang. And she gave that name to the monster. So the monster's name in this movie is Fang.
Okay.
There you go, Derek. You wanted to know why.
I didn't know why. So
You did not know that. I distinctly remember as a child watching a Phyllis Diller routine on television. So it was cleaned up a little bit. And she talked about Fang and how he could not make toast. Or it was something like along the lines of that, but it was hysterical. And Phyllis Diller's look, she is not a classic beauty.
No.
She has her own look, platinum blonde hair, frizzed out, and they transferred that into the animated character very well. And the thing I even noticed as a child, she ran around in go-go boots, which firmly placed her in the 1960s.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty hysterical too.
She has a lot more to say here as the bride or the mate than the Bride of Frankenstein ever had an opportunity to say, which is great.
And she was in charge of that relationship.
Yeah.
She caught Fang staring at Francesca as she was walking away.
Yeah.
And she says, "Bird watching again."
Yep.
That wandering eye, I kept it in a jar for a week that one time.
I wonder how much of it was not necessarily improv, but how much of her dialogue she had big input for.
If I was sitting at that writer's table and Phyllis Diller wanted to put in a joke, I'd say, "Go ahead, lady. You are absolutely in charge."
On her character that I really noticed, she makes a lot of jokes in the movie. Joke after joke after joke after joke. Not all of them hit. And a lot of the ones that don't hit, you hear her go, ha, 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 that classic Phyllis Diller laughing at her own joke thing. But the ones that hit, she doesn't laugh after. The really funny one, I think she marked out in that movie by not doing the cheesy laugh after. And I think it says which jokes she liked and which she was less happy with. But yes.
Interesting observation. Now I got to rewatch the movie again.
Oh, darn.
Any excuse.
Oh, darn it. Yeah. Now we move on to Dracula. Dracula was in the public domain, so we were allowed to use his name. And they kind of made him look like Bela Lugosi, cartoonish.
A little bit.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Now we have to jump out of story for 1 minute and talk about the voice actors in this movie. There's only 4 of them. We have Boris Karloff playing Boris.
Mm-hmm.
Phyllis Diller playing the monster's mate. And then we have a gentleman by the name of Alan Swift, who did every single male voice in that movie. And there were quite a few of them. He had an incredibly long career in animation doing voices.
That's amazing.
Not the big stuff, but he was in everything else. So he was a journeyman who worked all the time.
Like even Yetch? I mean, that's...
He was Yetch, which was, we'll get to that. Yetch was based on Peter Lorre, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Thought that immediately, but...
And then the
voices are very different. As someone who's done, that kind of work, that's a pretty big spread of vocal ability.
And then we have Dale Garnett, who is a New Zealand pop star who had a hit in the early 1960s, which I've never heard. But she did a lot of voice and television work also. And crowning her career at very late in life, she was in My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which I've seen that movie and I could not point her out to you. She played one of the ants. I may have to track that movie down and just see.
I know that one's a favorite of
4 voice actors for an entire movie.
That's phenomenal.
That's phenomenal.
So our boy Al, or Mr. Swift, he tried to do a off Bella for the Dracula, kind of a off, not quite Bela Lugosi, but off.
Yes. I was going to say the animation on the Dracula did feel like halfway between a Bella and Count Chocula.
Yeah, but this would have been well before Count Chocula.
Oh, sure, but that mix of those types of animation.
You could argue that maybe they looked at Mad Monster Party when they were designing Count Chocula. So
Ooh, yeah.
you could say that.
Similar. Some of the monsters have a similar feel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then we get the werewolf, who is a werewolf the entire time. Full moon, daylight, no matter what, he's always a werewolf. And they base that character on the original werewolf in The Wolfman, Bela Lugosi's werewolf. And he's hysterical for not saying a word. Watching the werewolf act like a dog is pretty fun.
Well, and I love that because the fact that he always acted like a dog kind of played into the thing when our hero's glasses fall off and he goes to pet him. Oh, nice dog,
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, that's believable.
And then we have a classic mummy, complete with a sarcophagus,
which
travels in style.
I love that. I'm a mummy mark. I love mummies. So I'd be happy.
And he kind of has a bestie in this one who hauls out the movie.
Yeah, we're getting to him. We have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Jekyll seems to be very comfortable changing in Mr. Hyde in this movie. At the drop of a hat, he pops open his secret compartment in his walking stick and takes a swig of the formula. So he has no issue being Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
I would almost say that Dr. Jekyll's got a little bit of a drinking problem there. He's always turning.
Oh, he's got no problem. He drinks and he turns into Mr. Hyde. No problem.
No worries.
Okay, and then we have the creature, Derek and my favorite Universal monster, which is obviously the creature from the Black Lagoon.
I'd say probably one of Beth's too at this point, yeah?
Or she's coming over to our side, Derek. We're talking a movie of its time. Then we have The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
In the early days, Universal considered the Hunchback one of the Universal monsters. And the public has evolved since then. And we now look at the brilliance of that original Hunchback of Notre Dame movie. And the Hunchback is a misunderstood hero throughout that entire movie.
Definitely.
But in the early days, he was hideous looking and, had great strength and could cause damage. So he was considered a monster back then. It's just okay. It's all in fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're not trying to make a point here.
No.
Okay. And then we get the Invisible Man, who it took me many, many years to put two and two together. The Invisible Man walks around in a robe, sunglasses, and a fez, and that's all he has on. And then it took me quite a few years to realize that's all he has on.
Yeah, Beth and I made a few comments to each other while we were watching it, mostly Beth, about how he's just walking around naked, isn't he? Like, yeah.
At one point, I think he answers the door in just the fez. I'm like, just the fez?
Yeah.
Like, I know they don't know, but you know.
Yeah. I really loved and I was really taken by it this time around. The animation style is it's a variation of stop motion animation, right? The Invisible Man has no legs. There's nothing for him to stand on. So you're doing this animagic, this animation.
You got to make him float.
You got to make him float. And it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Not only do they have the animation, but the camera is not static.
Yeah.
The camera moves while the characters are moving. And you got to remember, this was all done practically. There was no computer backups to help you out in those days. If you moved your animated figure, the one twitch, then you moved your camera a fraction of an inch. You had to line that all up just right the entire time. It was amazing amount of work.
Yeah.
That was all done by a Japanese animation team, the MOM company in Japan. And I won't even try to pronounce the supervisor's name. My apologies.
I will botch it, but I'll try to figure it out and put it in post, which again is amazing to me that they had this Japanese animation team putting together this monster movie with all these monsters that, Hollywood has kind of done something with in the US and all that. But yeah, there's a few more monsters to talk about.
Okay. We have the background monsters that I want to speak of. At the castle on the Isle of Evil, there are footmen all over the place, and they are played by silent zombies. And then we have, I assume he's the butler.
I think
his
so.
His name is Yetch. And let me tell you, Francesca makes good use of that name whenever she has to interact with him. She just calls him Yetch. And that's enough to cut right into your bones.
Mm-hmm. It's a really good Peter Lorre impersonation.
Yes.
Characterization, I guess, but it's really good.
Yetch has a huge crush on Francesca, and you got to hand it to him. He swings for the fences.
Oh, yeah.
He makes his move every chance he gets. He makes it well known that he would like to be with Francesca, and she answers him exactly the same way, usually by hitting him and sending him off with a barb.
Yeah.
He actually says, I want to be your Don Juan. And she says, I Don Juan to see you.
The dialogue is great.
My sister used to repeat that all the time.
I love you called the zombies footmen because I did notice they have no shoes.
Oh, there we go.
So
I was going by the jacket, but that's a good observation.
It's kind of a double entendre, you know, they have no shoes, they have giant feet, they're clearly the footmen. And they do a great job. Like, honestly, they fly planes. And
when all the monsters turn on the Baron, it was the zombies that were loyal to him.
Yeah.
So you got to hand it to that, you know?
Well, maybe because they used to be human. He's actually human, not a monster, you know, per se. I mean, he is a monster, but he's not a monster.
I'll say they brought that up too. When Francesca tells Dracula she knows who the heir to the organization is going to be. And Dracula says, what are you, a spook, a spirit, some kind of creepy crawl? And she says, no, he's a human. And Dracula says, oh yeah, the worst of all.
But I was going to say, there's another human character in this that I had kind of forgotten about. What is up with that chef?
Chef Mafia Machiavelli. And I'm not sure he's human. He has very pointed ears.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure that he's a human being. But he is a chef and he knows what he likes. And God forbid you question him on an ingredient in one of his recipes.
Arsenic, cyanide, and glycerin.
He's very accepting of the castle staff, as if he walked in the first time and went, I've worked in worse. And then just started cooking, you know?
Right.
Like it just wasn't a big deal.
Now, the main course at the dinner is going to be octopus soup. Now, Derek, I should have looked it up. What's the Harryhausen movie with the giant octopus?
It Came from Beneath the Sea.
It Came from Beneath, thank you. When the octopus comes out of the pot and it was just tentacles, I said, maybe they're giving a throwback to that earlier movie.
I could see that. I mean, and tentacles always, you know, give me a tentacle and I'm good.
Yeah, we love tentacles around here.
I suspect there are quite a few nods like that in this, and I would challenge our listeners, if you've noticed a nod or, you know, something that is clearly meant to throw back to one of these earlier movies or, you know, be just kind of honoring them, go ahead and drop it in the comments, you know, once you've listened to everything, and let us know what ones you've seen, or give us a ring and let us know, because it'd be fun to identify all of them, you know, make a list or something of all of the fun ways that they've given nods to different previous movies.
They didn't call them Easter eggs back then, but yeah,
they are. Yeah,
that's what they are. Yeah.
So this movie is not just a serious drama or a horror movie. It's also a musical.
Oh, I know.
And we start right off the bat with the monster's mate serenading her husband with the song "You're Different."
Yeah.
I've saved the best for last. Was this save the worst for first? Or oh no, it was a little tinny. I gotta say, love Phyllis, but ooh.
Well, once again, she's a monster, right?
She is. Yeah. That's true. I kind of like the way she runs that relationship. I think it's kind of anathema to the 50s and 60s and the general way of things. So it's kind of fun in that way.
Do I need to worry?
No, dear, you're always in charge.
Okay.
Always. She told you so. Now, I was getting a definite Addams Family vibe with the monster and the mate, because in the Addams Family, it was clearly Morticia ran the family in that show. So
definitely.
Okay.
All right. Now, when we first meet Francesca, she is clearly devoted to the Baron.
Yeah.
She's described as his secretary. She's very comfortable in his laboratory. And he gives her a compliment right in the beginning of the movie, saying, "If I must say so myself, you are a masterpiece." Now, we can put a pin in that line, and we'll revisit that later at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, the hint was right there at the beginning.
It is. Is she really devoted to the Baron, or is she devoted to his research? Because
they were one and the same until they were not going to be.
Them pretty quick, but she's still going after that research.
Right.
I do like their back and forth, though. Their huge pile of leftovers in the dining room. Well, I wonder who it was. Just kind of back and forth. I love that.
When they board the ship, when all the monsters and Felix board the ship, it is a comedy of errors. There's so much going on. I could hardly keep track of it. Every time Felix bumped into one of the monsters, he'd always lose his glasses and then, try to cover for it. When he ran into the werewolf, he thought it was a lady with her dog and he's petting the tail.
Let me get your fur for you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even seeing Jekyll, but then the glasses come off as the transformation happens, so he doesn't see Hyde. He just
he thought Hyde was seasick. He says, "Oh, you're all green. You must be seasick." And then he loses his glasses when he bumps into the Invisible Man, and he says, "I can't see you." And he says, "I can't tell you how many times I've heard that."
It's a fun sequence, and really, I could have even had a longer bit of that, just the antics going on the boat. I know that we had other things to do, but the ship sequence is just one of the highlights for me.
It does take quite a while for Felix to get to the island. All the monsters get there before him, and they have a rollicking party the night before without him.
With the mummies.
Little Tibia and the Phibians.
Yep.
And their hit song, The Mummy.
Yep.
Of which the monster's mate dances with the mummy and practically unwraps him. She spins him around so hard.
They're playing our song.
So right there, they have fulfilled the name of the movie. You have a mad monster party in the movie.
Yep.
How many movies have we watched where it doesn't live up to the title of the movie?
Nothing to do with it. Yeah. So this was good. I appreciate that.
So they stayed on point, and the movie always moves forward. You never go backwards or sideways in this movie. Well, you do go sideways, but it's always towards the ultimate goal.
I think the only time things kind of slow down a little bit is when they stop for a musical number, to be honest.
Yeah.
Some of the musical bits, while they're fun, really don't have anything to do with the story.
The modern audience, and I'll tell you a story. When I showed this movie to my children, my daughter was very young. She was maybe 6 or 7. She did not like the bit with Francesca and Dracula when they were singing and Dracula was tap dancing. She spoke up at 7 years old. She said, "I don't like this part." And then years later, she appreciates it more.
But don't you think at the time, especially if something was going to be marketed as a movie for children, you were almost expected to have music or music?
Yeah, it didn't bother me.
From Rudolph to Frosty to, all of them. It's
but times do change. There are many people do not like the musical numbers in the Marx Brothers movies because they're so cemented in that time of the 1930s.
Yeah.
Now here we have a movie made in the 60s, but it's clearly of an earlier vintage. Little Tibia and the Phibians is their nod to the modern music, but all the other songs are more of earlier, an earlier time
and age. Yeah.
I'm not saying I didn't like the songs. Sometimes I feel like they derail the narrative a little bit.
So you're a music guy, Derek. What did you think of the music overall?
Oh, I think it's
the background music and all that.
Yeah, no, I think it's fun. I think when I talked about it years ago on Mail Order Zombie, I was a little down on this movie, to be completely honest, because it was the first time I watched it. I didn't know what I was expecting, and I felt like things kind of meandered a little bit more. But I've really warmed up to it, and I think the music's fun. The opening song, Mad Monster Party by Ethel Ennis, a jazz great.
Yeah.
How they afforded her, I have no idea, but they brought her in, and getting Gail Garnett, who I don't really know much about either.
I didn't know any of her history until this morning when I looked her up.
Her one big song was "We'll Sing in the Sunshine," which I don't know anything about either. Maybe Beth.
I don't think I ever heard that song in my life.
Well, I can't speak for Ella, but I know for myself, if I was a singer in the 1960s and somebody gave me the chance to sing on a movie that Bella or any of them were in, I'd take it. Any of these monster classics, these monster greats, I'd want to be in something with them. So it could have been as simple as something like that.
Yeah. They didn't even release a soundtrack album, though, until many decades later. So part of the reason you put musical numbers in a lot of these movies is so you can sell the album, right?
Right.
But they didn't release the album until 2016. But no, I think the music's fun. I think I've got it. I think I've got the soundtrack somewhere around here, but it doesn't have a lot of incidental music. It's mostly just the song, the musical numbers. But I enjoy it.
I'm glad to hear that.
There are several numbers in this that I would much rather see being played at, as someone who works in the haunted house industry, we hear all kinds of music, and it drives me nuts when they play the Cranberries Zombie at these things, because that has absolutely nothing to do with zombies. So things from this, like the title song, I would much rather see played at festivals and things now that people can get a hold of it, over some of the things that are inappropriately played for the Halloween season. These are all appropriate.
Yeah. There are many times during the year when I am, especially when I'm working alone, I start singing Take One Step Ahead, especially when I'm like going back and forth from like two different workstations. You got to stay one step ahead, stay one step ahead. Tune into what's happening, but stay one step ahead.
You got a song, quote unquote, sung by Boris Karloff.
Sung by, yes, and we're going to put quotation marks around the word sung.
Yeah.
More of a spoken word a la William Shatner.
Yeah.
Well, and then with Boris, you have all the little monsters. I love the little tiny monsters. Oh my gosh, I want plushies of all of them.
Yes. Yes. I want to just mention Maury Laws, who is the composer of the music here. He did a ton of animation, including some of the animated Lord of the Rings stuff back in the day. But he did a ton of animated music, animated movie music and TV music. So,
okay, we're going to talk behind the scenes with Murray Laws, and Jules Bass is credited with some of the music also.
Yeah.
The other half of the Rankin Bass. And Jules did direct the overall movie. The character design is by a comic book artist by the name of Jack Davis, another EC comic veteran. And you most likely would recognize his work if you ever saw any of the Crypt Keeper comics from EC Comics. That was all Jack Davis.
Yeah.
He had a maniacal, over-the-top style of drawing people, very caricature designs.
Made me think of Phyllis's character, reminded me of not the heat miser, the ice guy.
Oh yeah, the cold miser.
Cold miser, that's what it's not the ice miser, but yeah, the cold miser. She kind of have the same fish.
And maybe Jack Davis's most famous work is the poster art for "It's a Mad, 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 Mad World."
Okay, yeah.
That's one of those over-the-top posters that shows every character doing everything in the movie. You could stare at the poster and then say, I saw that bit in the movie. So
it's a great poster. It's a fun film, and it's a great poster that captures all the antics of that movie and then some. But no, I knew Jack Davis's work from, the monster stuff.
And Mad Magazine also.
And Mad Magazine, of course. Yeah.
So they must have had a connection with Mad Magazine or one of the gentlemen. And then he said, well, if you're going to do this, bring this other guy along. I'm getting more. I used to watch movies and not care about the behind the scenes stuff. I just wanted to see the finished product. Mm-hmm. But as I'm getting older, I really appreciate the people that work behind the scenes and make everything happen. Like finding that Gail Garnett to play Francesca. It was a masterstroke. She did the voice perfectly. She sang the songs just the way you expect her to sing them. It was just they just hit. And Alan Swift, my God, what a job for doing all those voices.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know anything about this guy. I want to know more about this guy.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Like I said, I don't think he did any of the major cartoons that we're familiar with, but he did all the others. So he must have been working every day, just scratching out a living.
Yeah. That's nuts. I mean, he did a lot of work on Howdy Doody, apparently, which, you know.
Yeah, that one doesn't seem to resonate with a modern audience anymore.
That's true. That's true. It's amazing that he did all those voices. And I didn't know that the first time I saw this. I assumed they were all different people.
Well, I would haze out during the credits and say, let's get on with the movie, you know?
Yeah.
And after I saw Boris Karloff and Phyllis Diller, I was fine. I didn't need to know anybody else in that movie.
That's good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just enough. You can transfer that to almost any movie you watch, that all the people working behind the scenes, you know, you see an actor throw a temper tantrum and then you think there's 20, 30, 40, 50 people back there working paycheck to paycheck while this guy's having a fit over something silly.
Yeah. Was it something we were watching the other day, Beth, where it was, I don't remember what it was, to be honest. It was where they're talking about, it's a miracle that a movie ever even gets made, even a bad one.
Yeah.
There's so many people holding so many, spinning so many plates in the air, doing so much to get a movie done that, I mean, you can't help but respect that and all the people behind the scenes doing it. I mean, a movie like this one, with all of the animation going on and the moving camera and the sophistication of everything going on with the cinematography, I don't know what Killer Joe Pyro did for choreography, but the work that he did there, you know, it's amazing.
Well, you know, back in the day, they used to actually dance out scenes, like have real dancers do it and put it on video so that the artists could draw it or the sculptors could animate it with movement.
Well, nowadays they would have the dancers put on black bodysuits with ping pong balls on them and would dance it out, and then the computer would take over and do everything.
Which is a different skill altogether, and not, you know, those are artists too. It's just different.
Absolutely. I'm not gonna rag on the current situation that's going on with AI right now, but they'll come to a balance in 5 or 6 years and things will work out.
Right. Agreed.
You know, it's like with any new technology, it's overused in the beginning and then it settles down and finds its place.
I think you tackled most of the monsters. There's one that we'll talk about here when we start.
There's one coming up that we...
Yep. Big one.
A big one. Yeah.
What about this idea that the Baron is he's wanting his nephew to hold this invention over the heads of the monsters in order to get them to behave? Like, it's almost a blackmail situation of, I can destroy you and he'll be able to destroy you if you don't follow him. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little dark in a way.
Oh yeah, it's a horror movie. And I'm not opposed to children. I'm not opposed to children getting scared at the movies.
No, me either. A German ancestry, so we just like scaring children in general. So
my mother's Sherman.
Oh, well, there you go.
So we have a big blowout, and in the middle of the party, Francesca and Dracula are plotting how to take over, get rid of Flanken and take over. And the monster's mate overhears them, and that they get into a big fight. And the monster's having a great time. I mean, he rips off Yetch's head and uses it like a bowling ball.
Bowling ball.
Now, in the year 2025, can you see any children's animated movie where monster would rip off the head of another character and do anything with it?
I mean, he's clearly already dead, so maybe of smallpox. I was trying to put some of his symptoms together because he refers to his disease. I think it's smallpox.
Could be rot. Just it got to him a little bit late.
Rings. He has the extended rings of smallpox. Is his face. So, and then the bluing and some of the other. But
the blue skin gets me. I love that.
Horrible. Oh my gosh. But he's just living his best afterlife.
Well, I haven't seen any of them, but what is the series of the Adam Sandler voiced animated films where he plays Dracula?
Hotel Transylvania.
I haven't seen any of those movies.
I saw the first one. I enjoyed it.
I don't know if they go that far with like ripping off a head and using it as a ball.
No, they did.
Not quite that.
At least not in the first one.
But not quite that silly.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you, I watched, and I'm really not a big fan of it, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay.
It's just not my cup of tea, but I remember seeing that in the theater, and I remember seeing parents taking their children out of the movie halfway through.
Oh,
because they were not the kids were not enjoying the movie. So
that one is definitely for a little older audience. I think they marketed it too young originally.
I agree completely.
Because I didn't let my kids see that till they were like 10, 11, that kind of thing, and then loved it. So they needed to be a little bit older.
I think you had to be old enough to shop on your own at Hot Topic to be able to go see that movie.
Well, that probably was the...
Okay, so we have their party, and then the aftermath, everybody's sleeping it off, and that's another comedy of errors while all the monsters are sleeping. And then Felix shows up the next day. That's where the movie really picks up for me, because here we have our one human, well, not counting the Baron, we have our one human has to deal with all the monsters. And Francesca's already plotting to kill him. She wants to just kill him right away. Doesn't even want to get to know him.
Nope.
She just wants to just get rid of him.
It's dark.
She has teamed up with the monsters and sets up 3 booby traps for him while she takes him out on a hike and a picnic. And our boy Flankin, boy, he knows how to handle himself. By sheer dumb luck.
Yeah.
The accidental pharmacist, if you will.
Well, now that I think about it, he dispatches the werewolf rather quickly by just playing fetch with him.
Yeah.
And like I said, the werewolf acts more like a dog, so he's having a great time. Mm-hmm. And then the mummy wants to get him, and Felix was top man in his Boy Scout troop for first aid, so he rewraps the mummy. He rewraps him to a tree, and Francesca says, "Remind me never to ask for help if I get a sprained ankle." And then, of course, Dracula comes in for the kill.
Again and again and again.
And again and again. And by, like I said, by sheer dumb luck. Or is it, Felix is able to dodge every one of Dracula's attacks.
And the thing doesn't get me because I lean over. I love that in movies. So that going on and on and on just cracks.
Now, Beth, if you were preparing a picnic basket for a date, would you just make one sandwich for your date, or would you make a dozen sandwiches for your date?
Well, I would wrap them in wax paper. That's
exactly
unsanitary.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd make quite that many different ones, but...
Yes, Felix has he knows what he likes. And if you put mayo on your cheese sandwich, he's not going to eat it. I know there's a real man's man for you right there. He's not going to knuckle under.
There you go. Felix is his voice, the voice they settled on for him, almost feels a little too old for the actions to me sometimes. He sounds a little bit more mature than he clearly is, but then he does, he's our pratfall guy, and I love that.
I kind of felt like maybe he was a little older. He has become a whole pharmacist and everything. He's just immature.
Yeah. Inexperienced, a
little naive.
Yeah. Doesn't know anything about the Caribbean until...
I mean, he gets on that ship and he stays on the ship after looking at the ship. So right there.
Yeah. Well, and all the monsters got off early.
Yeah, they bug out.
Like, do they know something I don't know? Or
right? But I love Felix though. He's one of my favorite characters in this whole thing. I mean, it's hard not to love the guy.
He keeps his goodness throughout. It feels like it's special.
Now, I've thankfully I've never suffered from allergies, but Felix is allergic to everything, and he carries a half a pharmacy in his suit jacket with him at all times.
I mean, he is related to a mad scientist. He's got to have some of that, right? So,
what was that experiment that he did? It was some kind of new chocolate malted or something. Oh, and the Baron says, "Oh, so I see you dabble."
Near killed his.
You'll be able to experiment to your heart's content in this laboratory.
When Francesca decides she's in love with Felix, that happens pretty quick.
Okay, let me tell you a story about this one.
Okay.
If you can't tell by now, I absolutely love this movie.
Sure.
And it's required watching at Halloween season. So I've actually watched it a little early this year. I most likely will watch it again before the month is out. And I always post on Facebook every year the movies that I watch at Halloween. And every year, Mad Monster Party comes up. And one year, one of my female Facebook friends actually commented that she did not like the way that Francesca fell in love with Felix.
Okay.
Francesca was hysterical in one scene, and Felix does the old 1940s, 1950s trope of slapping a woman right in the face when she's hysterical. And instantaneously, as soon as his palm touches her cheek, she sees what kind of real man Felix is, and she instantly falls in love with him and hops over to his side.
A little wishy-washy, isn't she?
Well, yes and no. She knows what she likes. Okay. You know, this is a
Kind man.
yeah. Frankenstein. There we go. So this woman commented about that. And I said, well, I obviously can understand where you're coming from. I told her that I do. It's not acceptable behavior. Said, however, just minutes before, Francesca tried to kill Felix 3 different times. And I don't remember you saying anything bad about that. Yeah.
Fair enough.
So I tried to address that situation as the calmest way I could. Now, the last time I can remember in a non-comedy movie or TV show that I saw a man slap a hysterical woman was in a episode of Gunsmoke made in the early 70s. That trope is fallen away. I cannot remember anything after that. Thankfully, that trope is gone. We don't do that anymore. But it was a thing.
Talking to someone to open their eyes and make them around. Yeah.
Well, they were in danger, and he handled the situation. Of course, as soon as he slapped her, they started kissing. So much for running away. Oh, there's the one scene where the carnivorous plant is trying to eat Francesca, and Felix throws some of his allergy medicine into its mouth. Mm-hmm. And she says, Felix, you saved me. Again, right? And he says, thank my pills. And then she kisses him. He says, forget about thanking the pills. Thank me again.
Felix is our
man. I want to get a t-shirt.
He bushwhacks through a lot of jungle in this movie, which must be why it had to be set in the Caribbean. I don't know.
Yeah, he actually comments, if I ever get out of this, I'm never hacking and chopping through a jungle ever again. And then he also says at the end of the movie, no more dating in jungles.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So we got this huge madcap thing happening at the end now that Francesca and Felix are a unit. You got all the other monsters trying to get him. And it's just, it's a madcap kind of romp, and it's fun.
Well, the monsters actually turn on Francesca.
Yeah.
And in order for her to get her revenge against the monsters, she sends one more invitation out to it. It was described as a crushing boar because he kept crushing boars left, right, and sideways.
I love that.
And the monsters corner Felix on the edge of a cliff. And he's going to actually make a stand there. And he has a allergy attack, so he pulls out all his medicine. And the last bit of medicine that he has, he keeps in a test tube, which looks exactly like the Baron's invention of the creation destroyer, liquid gel, whatever you want to call it. And they all the monsters stop thinking that he has the invention. And then he can't quite pull it off. You know, he's trying to sound tough, but it's not quite working. And then it appears behind him. And it, who we shall not call King Kong for copyright reasons, not King Kong, is a giant ape, comes out of the ocean and scares all the monsters away. And then Felix turns around and he gets all weak in the knees and he passes out.
So I got to ask, Beth, we didn't talk about this, but did you have any idea what monster it was before it turned up?
I wondered if it might be King Kong, just from the crushing boar crusher. I did have an inkling,
Okay.
Didn't know how exactly they were going to work that because, again, copyright.
Yeah. Okay. And despite the fact that she is not a blonde, it does have a thing for Francesca.
It falls for Francesca.
Who wouldn't, though? I mean, I understand falling for somebody with vibrant red hair. I understand.
Okay, but for reasons we haven't yet discussed, maybe she was a blonde? Past tense?
Could be.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Okay, let's go for it. Very early in the movie, the Baron Boris describes her as a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the monsters are turning on Francesca, the monsters have a meeting, and Yetch is actually defending the Baron, saying we should be loyal to the Baron.
Mm-hmm.
And Dracula says, when the monster needed a mate, he made one for the monster. When he wanted a mate, he made one. Did he make you a mate? Now, we've never seen a mate for the Baron. Not any woman that declared herself the Baron's mate. So we can only assume, there's hitting them. They started to lean really heavy into it.
Hints, yeah.
And when Felix and Francesca are going through the jungle, Francesca actually has to take a break. And she says, I must rest. I wasn't made for this kind of work.
Yep.
So there's another clue.
So if you're paying attention.
When she actually trips, she tells Felix to go on without her. And he says, I'll carry you. And he can't even budge her. And he said, you're a lot heavier than I thought. And she says, I'm not an easy pickup. I absolutely love that line.
Yep.
So all the clues are there before we get the big reveal at the end of the movie that Francesca is not a human woman.
Yeah.
She is actually a creation of the Baron. And they really dodged around it. They didn't say she was stitched together with body parts.
Well,
because they said she had a mechanical heart that ran off a spring, and she had levers instead of elbows and knees. So she's more of a robot, I imagine, than a Frankenstein monster.
Bit of a mix, I think. Yeah.
A bit of a mix. Yeah. It was his masterpiece. He put everything together, and it turned out great.
Yeah. Yeah. But we have this, and it has got all the monsters, and at some point,
and it is big enough to just start punching the castle.
Yes. We have a scale issue with it from a modeler's perspective.
Yeah.
It seems to be able to grow and shrink as he wants to. Well, he does destroy the castle looking eye to eye with the top spinneret of the castle. And then later he has Francesca in the palm of his hand, and you can clearly see her hair sticking out. So,
yeah.
But we get some of those iconic King Kong shots, though, too, where he's like peeking in the window, and I have that, which is just phenomenal. I do love that. And the zombie footmen, which kind of were just a background character, background characters to begin with. There are even a couple of shots here and there where the zombie footmen are in the background listening to the monsters plotting against the Baron.
Right.
They end up taking to the air. And
they get together. They are loyal to the Baron. You got to hand it to them.
Take to the air, zombie birdman.
Yeah.
And there's a variety of plane. They don't just have the same planes.
Yes. Orville and Wilbur spent a summer there. And then Felix has some Orville and Wilbur, right? And he says, no, Orville and Wilbur Frankenstein, your uncles.
But I love that it's different planes. Like we have a variety of different planes, because what that tells us is that they didn't just use one model over and over and over again.
Right.
They actually made multiple models, which means more work and more chances to be wowed.
And those planes were not too unlike the early stages of aviation. They had those people that designed those early airplanes had wild imaginations.
Yeah.
And I loved that. And the whole thing comes to a climax, an explosive end. Yes. When the Baron takes his creation, the ultimate destroyer of all matter, and crashes into it, who's got all the monsters in his hands, as Francesca and Felix are rowing away to safety.
And he blows the island off the face of the earth.
It's gone. The monsters are gone.
And there are fireworks. That seemed weird. But like,
well, Felix did mention I want to sing Old Lang Syne right now.
And then we get another kind of sort of reveal, maybe twist. Is Felix?
We got the second twist. The first twist is that Francesca is a creation of the Baron.
Which he reveals to Felix.
Which it was hinted at through the entire movie if you paid attention. And then at the very last second of the movie, Felix glitches and says, "Nobody's perfect." Click. Nobody's perfect. Click.
No. So is he a robot?
He was a robot also. They had the classic 1960s computer whizzing in the background.
Well, then they're the perfect match.
There you go. A robot.
Yes, Felix wanted to get married and have a whole bunch of little flankins running around.
It's a fun movie. It's a fun ride. I'm glad that I gave it a second shot after my first impression from it because I just really love it. It's so much fun.
I have a long-standing rule that I go by in my life that if you don't like Golden Voyage of Sinbad or the Mad Monster Party, we cannot be friends.
That's good.
It's like right up there.
Criteria. Good.
It's like Trust No One is number one, and number two is if you don't like Mad Monster Party, we can't be friends.
See, Creature from the Black Lagoon is kind of the one for me, but
right.
I get it. I get it. I mean, Monos maybe. No.
No.
No, y'all know I love them.
I like the meme I saw that I love is that a fertilizer salesman made a bet that he could make a movie, and he made a movie.
What I couldn't believe is that stretches till now. We were putting up, Derek has a mono shirt that he sells, and we were showing the website to our 23-year-old daughter, and she was like, "Oh, monos, yeah, I totally know monos, yeah," so these things can, sometimes I think they jump a generation, in appreciation as times.
Mono certainly came back from the dead, I'll tell you that.
Even, things like Mad Monster Party, I think there's a neat thing in reintroducing them to new generations. I definitely think it's one. Our grandniece is only a few weeks old, so it's a little early to show her. But maybe by next year, if she's toddling around, we'll have to bring out Mad Monster Party and see what she thinks.
I have every intention of turning that kid into a monster kid. That's.
I don't think there's any doubt.
They by all circumstances, my son should be the biggest Star Trek fan out there, and he could care less. They are their own people. I found that out.
Right. Oh, that's your kids. This is someone else's.
Oh, so you're saying I blew it? Okay, I got it.
I'm saying you got to find like a niece or a nephew or a grandniece to put it on. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a generation. That's what I'm saying. But you got to branch out.
So I'll subvert my grandchildren.
Getting his nephew to take things out. He didn't have a kid. He had a nephew.
True. He had a nephew.
Got to branch out.
So there's been a long-standing rumor about the writing of this movie that Forrest J. Ackerman had a hand in the dialogue. I don't think that's ever been definitively proven, said, talked about, recorded, whatever, documented. But it definitely has a Famous Monsters feel.
Right.
For sure. So whether Ackerman had anything to do with it or not, if you're a fan of Famous Monsters of Filmland and all of that, and the puns and the twisted wordplay, you're going to love this.
You have to watch this movie at least 2 times because you're going to miss half the jokes the first go through.
That tracks.
Ooh, I can't wait for the next time I watch it then.
Well, what are you doing this afternoon, hon?
Getting an MRI.
Oh, yeah, we have doctors.
Oh, bummer.
Not nearly as fun as watching Mad
Monsters.
Not nearly as fun as watching Mad Monster Party.
No.
My mother was so scared of the MRI, I had to sit in the room with her while she did it. You're okay in enclosed spaces?
Yeah.
Years ago, I made a Dr. Fibes coffin. Ooh. I have a Dr. Fibes coffin, the 2-seater.
Uh-huh.
And a Facebook friend of mine actually asked if I could put her in a short film. And it didn't work out. But her big complaint was, I said, I want to put you in this coffin.
Oh.
And she said, you can't do that because I would creep out if you close the lid on it. And I said, I would film it in a way that you would not be in the coffin when the lid, but I think that might have been one of the bits where she backed out of the project.
So hilarious. I've worked at a number of haunted houses, and one I used to work at had a coffin ride where you were literally enclosed and it was on like a moving platform, and there was a whole soundtrack and Jerry's been on. I mean, it was hilarious, and you're basically being buried alive. I loved it.
I would love it too. That doesn't bother me, but she told me flat out that she could not be in a coffin with the lid closing. That would be too much. I would not, if she would have told me that, I would have been fine. We would have worked it out, but.
This is a fun movie, and it's a fun movie to talk about with friends. And Mark, it's been way too long since we've done anything on the show, so I appreciate you.
Well, we got plans in the future, Derek.
We do. We do. We've got a Doug McClure double feature.
Doug McClure double feature
for you and me. But I really appreciate you throwing your hand up in the air saying, me, when I posted on Facebook that I need to get some guests for the show. So, you're one of the people that I've recorded with over the past couple of days, and it's been awesome to catch up with you. What are you doing the rest of the Halloween season?
I don't decorate the house until like a couple days before.
Okay.
So we have our family get together that we're going to do the weekend before Halloween. That's why I'm not at Monster Bash this week.
I love that he said doesn't decorate, but there's literally a skeleton hanging around behind him.
That's my skeleton in the closet.
Got it.
Yeah. And there's one right over my shoulder too. He's got the skeleton. So I am getting the Halloween decorations together. They go out a couple days before Halloween. I love Halloween. I really do. I don't celebrate 365 days out of the year. I'm a week before Halloween kind of guy. It makes it special.
Some Catholics only go to church on Easter and Christmas, so that's fun.
Okay, well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Bride of Monster Kid Radio. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of the experience of what we do here every week when we talk about the classic and sometimes the not so classic genre cinema of yesteryear. I did say in the recording with Mark that I would try to pronounce the name of the Japanese stop motion animator who was involved with Animagic and Rankin Basis Productions. I'm going to do my best here. I do show that he sometimes went by the nickname Tad, but his full name was Tadahito Mochinaga. And, his work was incredible and a big part of the reason why I love Mad Monster Party. And I had a fun time with it. I hope you enjoyed it too. And if you did, please let everyone know. Spread the word. I post about every episode of Bride of Monster Kid Radio on social media. You can reshare, retweet, relink, post, whatever it is you do when you're online interacting with your friends and your networks online. Please share Monster Kid Radio, Bride of Monster Kid Radio, and everything that we do here at Team Death, because we want to continue to grow the audience and the experience. And we can only do that with your help. When you do tell people about what we do here, send them to our website at monsterkidradio.net. This is where you're going to find links to everything that we've talked about here on the show. You're going to find the show notes. You're going to find our contact information, like our email address, monsterkidradio@gmail.com, and our voicemail line, which is 360-524-2484. You're also going to find links to Team Death and to our Death Designs, which is where you can buy the shirts. Now, you heard Beth mention the Manos shirt that we have. We have a Manos, the Hands of Fate, Hawaiian style or button-up shirt available. We have a Crestwood House shirt available. We have a brand new Blackula shirt available, and it's deadlier than Dracula's shirt. I tell you what. But you should check that out, and please consider supporting us that way. These shirts cost $40 and come with free shipping here in the U.S. If you are looking to ship elsewhere in the world, reach out to me at monsterkidradio@gmail.com and let me know where you want to have things shipped, and I'll work something out. We'll figure it out for you, because I want to get these shirts on you. Also, we are going to very soon have some new designs and new product. We're talking about women's wear with some of these awesome designs. So stay tuned to deathdesigns.bigcartel.com for that. You can also support us, speaking of supporting us, by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/monsterkidradio. When you support us over there, and you can join for free, you just help us out a little bit, and it really, helps us know that we're reaching an audience that appreciates what we're doing here. Also, when I post the show notes later in the week, This is the only place that I post what's coming up on the next episode of Bride of Monster Kid Radio. So if you want to stay in the loop and you want to know what's coming up next, you got to join us as at least a free patron over at patreon.com/monsterkidradio. Also, this should be up and running by now because my plan is to have this kind of rotated and done up by Sunday night, Monday morning. Check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/monsterkidradio. We are showing so many movies right now, so many spooky movies right now to celebrate the most magical time of the year. It's Halloween, it's October, it's time to get your spooky movie on, and you can do that for free at twitch.tv/monsterkidradio. We're showing a lot of classic monster movies. I'm getting permissions, I hope, from a number of indie filmmakers giving us permission to show some of their movies as well. We've already shown a movie from Christopher R. Mim. I want to play some more of his stuff. We'll probably slot in at least one movie, House of the Gorgon from Joshua Kennedy. Looking at maybe doing something from Ansel Farage. You just got to tune in to twitch.tv/monsterkidradio to find out what we're playing. And it's fun because there's a chat. And if there's a group of people in there chatting it up during the movies, I mean, it makes it even better. I can't guarantee I'm going to be there, and chances are I'm not because I got the day job. But that doesn't mean you can't be there and have a good time watching these movies for free. And if you follow us for free on twitch.tv, you get notified every time we go live, and you know when the new loop of movies is going to play. We've got a loop of at least 9 hours of stuff that we're going to be playing, and I can tell you the most recent loop is going to have the movies The Dead One, House of Dreams, The Blancheville Monster. We're including some music videos this time around. I found some vintage, or at least from the 80s and 90s, news clips about Halloween. We're playing a ton of Halloween and horror movie trailers. It's a good time. Come check us out over there. Bride of Monster Kid Radio is a Team Death production. All original content of Bride of Monster Kid Radio is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 Unported license. You can learn more about Team Death, our other projects like Death Designs, Mail Order Zombie, the Team Death YouTube channel, and more at www.teamdeath.com. Remember, death is spelled D-E-T-H. All previous episodes of this podcast, as well as the original Monster Kid Radio podcast, are available at www.monsterkidradio.net. Please rate and review Bride of Monster Kid Radio wherever you download your favorite podcasts. Echoes of Halloween is copyright 2025, The Riptide Rats. You can find this single release over at the riptiderats.bandcamp.com. You can find Echoes of Halloween. You can find the rest of their albums as well. They just came out with another single called Astrofeet. We may play that in the future as well if they give us permission to do so. Just check them out and support them because they support us here at Bride of Monster Kid Radio. My name's Derek M. Cook. We'll talk to everybody next week. Ciao.